Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Hawks Latest, your number one source for news, updates, rumors, opinions, and you guessed it, the latest and the greatest regarding the Atlanta Hawks. I'm your host, Zach Langley, aka Langley ATL, and today we've got a full slate of updates to break down for you. This is the 106th episode of Hawks Latest presented by Fan Art, so hopefully you guys have been enjoying the ride. Preseason has officially tipped off, and we've got a whole lot to talk about. Last night against the Houston Rockets, the Atlanta Hawks played their very first preseason game, and while the game didn't exactly go the Hawks' way in the final box score, which there were several problems with the box score just all throughout the day. I'll talk about those frustrations a little bit later into the episode because that was kind of ridiculous, but there were plenty of positives to take away from this one. Ups and downs, and we saw what we wanted to see out of the main guys. We're going to break down everything you need to know from the Hawks' 122-113 loss in their preseason opener, including a look at the team's first half performance, which was the most notable. It's when the starters played. It's when the main rotation guys played. There were some standout debuts, and what we learned about the ongoing position battle between Kristaps Porzingis and Onyeka Okongwu at that center position. A lot to talk about there. Then we're going to wrap things up by talking about Hawks rookie Asa Newell, who's going into a very intriguing rookie season. We don't exactly know his role, so we're going to break down what his role could potentially could be, just kind of based off of what we saw in last night's preseason game. Just kind of what we can realistically expect from him this season. So without further ado, let's go ahead and jump right into it and talk about how the final score from Toyota Center yesterday, Atlanta Hawks Houston Rockets, was Atlanta 113, Houston 122. The Hawks fell in their very first preseason game this season. It was their opener, but do not let that final score fool you. The Hawks looked good. The Hawks that we needed to look good looked good. When Atlanta's regular rotation was on the floor, which was the entire first half, the team looked really sharp. In the first half, Quinn Snyder rolled out what looked like a potential 9-man regular season rotation, and this already gets a little bit interesting when we break down who was in that immediate rotation, because Quinn has always been very strict on his 9-man rotations, and these are usually the guys that we'll see. So this is notable. It's Trae Young, Dyson Daniels, Zachary Reese, Jalen Johnson, Kristaps Porzingis, and that's as we know, that's the starting five. And then off the bench, the four guys off the bench are Nickeil Alexander-Walker, Onyeka Okongwu, Luke Kennard, and Keaton Wallace. Wallace actually was Atlanta's 9th man yesterday. He kind of rounded out that rotation in the first half. That right there is super interesting. I would never have expected Keaton Wallace to be that 9th man over guys like Vit Krejci or Mo Gay. Maybe this is an instance of they're letting Keaton kind of fight for that one of those final roster spots, so they're kind of putting him in the bright lights this first preseason game. They're letting him kind of run the second unit offense. That might be why Keaton Wallace was the 9th man. But if it's not, if Keaton Wallace is just officially in the rotation like that, and they're going to sign him to that full guaranteed deal, good for him. Because he looked pretty good in those minutes. He looked great in his minutes last year, in the limited minutes he got, and in this game he was pretty good. Against Houston's full strength rotation, the Hawks absolutely lit it up offensively. In the first half, they shot 66% from the field and 53% from deep in the first half. The offense looked smooth, fast, and incredibly well spaced. They were also playing with so much pace. The way they ran the floor, it was truly remarkable. I mean, it looks like a team that is going to be able to make some serious noise in the Eastern Conference. Trae Young, as always, he looked comfortable running the offense. This is a guy who's doing stuff that he's always done, but he actually has guys on his team now that can hit open looks, that obviously that is going to open up everything, and it did. It seriously did. That's why they shot so well. I mean, they're getting all these open looks because of Trae Young, and they can actually capitalize on it. I mean, Luke Kennard, just his shot is so pure. This guy we're going to talk about in a minute, Nickeil Alexander-Walker, had an absolute awesome game, but Zachary Reese showed the flashes that we wanted to see out of him. He kind of had a little bit of a rough start in that first half, and he was one of the few starters that played at least a few minutes in the second half, and they really focused on getting him the ball, letting him find that shot in the early parts of the second half, and then they subbed him out for the rest of the game. But it was good to see him kind of come around, but he showed those flashes for sure. And Jalen Johnson, in his return to action, he looked confident as a secondary playmaker. He ran the floor in transition very well. He looked like a guy who is not coming off of surgery and a full offseason of recovery. This looks like a guy who was playing basketball like a week ago. He looked really good. He had this one possession where it was actually in transition. He pretty much just had an open floor. Amen Thompson was the only thing stopping him from getting to the basket. He pushed Amen Thompson, one of the best defenders in the NBA, out of the way like it was nothing. And I can't remember if he laid it in or dunked it off the top of my head right now. But regardless, he scored, and that was an awesome possession. But I mean, Trae Young had thrown a half-court alley-oop to Johnson. Just the stuff that we see out of these guys. We saw it of them a lot last year, but that was on full display again in this preseason opener. The spacing with Kristaps Porzingis on the floor, it really opened things up. Even though KP didn't play a whole lot of minutes, not just because of his play, but he also got into foul trouble. However, Atlanta kind of struggled defensively in key areas in this game, especially against Alperen Şengün. He kind of lit the Hawks up. He had his way in the paint all night and really inside and out. He kind of displayed a three-point shooting ability that not a lot of fans knew he had. This has been an improving thing in Şengün's career, but it's still not really a focus of his game. But maybe he made those improvements this offseason to make that a focus in his game, because he looked good. He was scoring from the outside. He was facilitating well as a big. It really caused problems for Atlanta. His touch around the rim and ability to pass out of not just double teams, but just interesting matchups. Şengün played great. Also, Jabari Smith Jr. for the Rockets was really good. He knocked down a couple threes in that first quarter, really set the tone for the team. The Rockets are a good team, and Kevin Durant didn't play. He was scratched like an hour before the game. I feel bad for Rockets fans because I know a few guys that were down there. They were hoping they could see KD's debut, and he was supposed to play. They were saying like all week he was going to play all 4 preseason games, and then just like right before tip-off, they ruled him out, which it's kind of messed up. But the Hawks kept the game close most of the night. It was pretty close, but once those reserves came in, during the second half, the Rockets began to pull away a little bit, but Atlanta every now and then would make a little bit of a run to stay in it. Both teams played deep into their benches in the fourth quarter, real deep. And while Atlanta tried to make that late push, they ultimately could not close the gap, and they lost, though. Still, for a preseason opener, though, there was a lot to like. We saw all the flashes we needed to see in those limited minutes that we saw the guys, particularly the offensive flow and, really just the chemistry between the new pieces. Atlanta's going to be back in action on Saturday, so we get several days off. I don't know if I like that, to be honest. I mean, it's preseason, I know, but we've had like a taste of Hawks basketball. I want it to be like the regular season, every other day. But soon enough we're gonna get to that. But it's gonna be against the Memphis Grizzlies on Saturday. That's their next game. It's another great test as the Hawks continue to build some rhythm before the regular season tips off, and it's a very big season for them. So one of the bright spots from last night's game. I kind of hinted at this earlier that we were going to talk about this. Nickeil Alexander-Walker. So he made his Hawks debut, and it was really good. He was probably Atlanta's best player. He only played 19 minutes of action, which was one of the highest marks on the team. Alexander Walker totaled 13 points, a team high. He led the team with 13 points on 5 of 8 shooting, including 3 of 6 from beyond the arc. So already we're seeing great volume there from beyond the arc. Taking 6 attempts. These are great looks he's getting. They were all open. Actually, no, not all of them. There were like a couple that, he had a hand in his face. He still let it fly. He connected. That bench unit of him and Luke Kennard, that duo, they were generating a lot of open looks for each other, even with Trae sitting on the bench, which, how huge that is for Atlanta's offense. I mean, it's ridiculous. But Nickeil also had 3 assists, 1 rebound, and 1 steal. So very good all-around debut. Kind of showcased everything we wanted to see out of him. He led the team in scoring, and he looked extremely comfortable in Atlanta's system. It looks like he's been here for a while. I mean, he has a little bit of familiarity with a Quinn Snyder system. He played like 15 games in Utah with Quinn Snyder as the coach. But, I mean, playing off of Trae Young and even with Trae Young off the floor, moving fluidly within Quinn Snyder's system, it all looked very natural for Na. The Hawks did sign Alexander Walker this offseason to that 4-year, $62 million deal. And if this debut is any indication, that investment could pay off quickly. This looks like a guy, it has that feeling of like a guy who's going to be here for quite a long time and, just really make a fan base out of his play in Atlanta, just considering, his style of play. I think he's someone that Hawks fans are going to love. I mean, the combination of perimeter defense, and by the way, he was, terrorizing Houston defensively last night. That was one of the biggest things that stood out, honestly. Just his point of attack defense, and, he was the first sub off the bench. Actually, it was him and Okongwu that were the first two subs off the bench. And Trey went to the bench. Porzingis went to the bench. But the lineup that was in the game was Dyson Daniels, Nickeil Alexander-Walker, Zachary Reese, Jalen Johnson, and Onyeka Okongwu. That backcourt of Dyson Daniels, Nickeil Alexander-Walker, I don't have the numbers with me right now. I should have probably pulled those up. But I don't know how much they allowed to the opposing backcourt. I mean, the defense from those two, it's phenomenal. And in those minutes where they're on the floor together during the regular season, they're going to give opponents hell. That is not to be said lightly. But like I said, the combination of perimeter defense, secondary playmaking, and efficient shooting kind of make him a type of two-way glue guy that this team has needed for quite some time. A guy that you need if you're going to make a deep playoff run. Snyder has emphasized versatility and adaptability. Anzi Saleh has really preached that a whole lot too. His thing is optionality. That is something that Atlanta really prioritized this offseason. And Alexander Walker's ability to play, multiple guard and wing positions, it fits perfectly into that vision. He's a plug-and-play guy that can contribute at any level, and he really showed that in his debut. If he continues this level of play into the regular season, expect him to be one of Atlanta's most valuable rotation pieces this year, and the difference between a first-round exit and maybe a championship run. So now one of the biggest storylines heading into, this preseason and this regular season is the battle for Atlanta's starting center spot between Onyeka Okongwu and Kristaps Porzingis. We all have our own personal opinions on that. Kristaps Porzingis got the start last night. And he had an interesting game. It wasn't a surprise that Porzingis ended up getting that starting job in the first preseason game. Just given the hype surrounding his arrival in Atlanta and, his history in the league, a more reliable starting center. He showed flashes of what he can bring. He stretched the floor well. While he didn't connect on a three-point jumper, he was attempting them. I mean, he was letting it fly. He attempted like a 30-footer, and he was letting it fly, just doing Kristaps Porzingis things. He provided rim protection, although he did not get a rebound. He altered shots inside, though. I mean, just stuff you want to see from him. But the more effective center just overall in this game was Onyeka Okongwu, who came off the bench for Kristaps Porzingis. And just 20, he actually led the team. I say just 21 because we don't really know how many minutes these guys actually played. And I kind of hinted at talking about this earlier in the video, but I mean, the box scores and just kind of like the live game feed, it was so messed up last night. I was like trying to cover the game and tweet it live and just kind of keep everyone updated on what was going on with the game. And while I was watching it and, providing my, in-depth analysis, just watching the game, I'm trying to obviously keep you guys updated on the numbers and everything, but like ESPN and Reel and FanDuel and Yahoo, like literally everywhere that was broadcasting or displaying like a live box score, it was different. They were all different. They were showcasing different scores, different box score stats. One had Trey playing like 42 minutes. Like, it was so messed up. It's clearly the preseason for them. But anyways, Okongwu poured in 11 points on 4 of 8 shooting. He added a rebound, an assist, a steal, and was a team high +8 on the night. The most impactful player Atlanta had in that entire game. It's a great outing for a guy who's technically coming off the bench. He's Atlanta's backup center. His energy, his mobility, and really, pushing the pace in transition, he was awesome. I mean, Onyeka looked like it was some of the quickest stuff I've ever seen from Onyeka. He was finishing around the rim at a high rate. I mean, his game stood out immediately, from the rest. Porzingis, on the other hand, he finished with just 5 points in 12 minutes, and he struggled with foul trouble. He actually had 5 fouls before checking out, and he only played the first half, so he had 5 fouls in one half. And now I don't expect anything like that to happen in the regular season, but it is kind of interesting that he had 5 fouls in just the first half. He was playing a little bit more aggressive though, and Alperen Şengün was really making him pay, making him bite on the pump fakes, and he was driving on him a lot. And I don't know. It wasn't a great debut for Kristaps Porzingis, if I'm being completely honest. But Atlanta seemed to kind of go away from Porzingis offensively as he continued to miss shots and the game progressed. And don't take too much of that into account and judge what Porzingis' role is going to be this upcoming season. Just considering that they're just trying stuff out right now. But Kongwu looked a lot more comfortable coming out into the second unit and just being on the court, and because he's more familiar with Atlanta's system, it's understandable. But yeah, Onyeka had the better game. Last season, Onyeka averaged 13 points and 9 rebounds per game as Atlanta's center. And when he took over as that full-time starter, when Clint Capella went down with an injury, those numbers climbed to 15 and 10. So he's proven that he can seriously put up some reliable numbers and make an impact as a starting center in the NBA. But Porzingis, meanwhile, is coming off of one of the best years of his career. He averaged 19.5 points, 7 rebounds, and shot a career-high 41% from deep. So there's no reason to overreact to Porzingis' poor debut, basically, is what I'm saying. He just came off playing in Eurobasket. I mean, that was literally only a few weeks ago, and he's obviously still adjusting to Quinn Snyder's system. This was his first game in it. He'll find that rhythm soon. They're going to give him some more run in the preseason, so hopefully he'll get that together, and he will. But Okongwu made a clear statement here. He's ready to start, and he deserves some serious consideration as they kind of near the regular season. I'm still obviously pro start Kristaps Porzingis. I mean, you start the 7-2 guy to win the tip off, and the spacing he provides is unlike any other big. So you start Porzingis, but Okongwu has a real case here, is basically what I'm trying to say. Either way, though, this is a great problem to have. The Hawks have one of the most talented and versatile center duos in the entire NBA, and that is like I said, a great problem to have heading into the season where the NBA is big. It's getting bigger every single season, and the Hawks have to keep up. So let's finish with a quick look at rookie Asa Newell, who made his Atlanta Hawks preseason debut last night against the Houston Rockets. Newell came off the bench as the 11th man, actually. So he wasn't in that immediate 9-man rotation that looks like could be the rotation at the start of the regular season, but he was one of the first few after that. And he actually came in, just around the time as Mo Gay, so we don't really know who Atlanta's prioritizing there. He logged a few solid minutes. He didn't play a whole lot, but in those minutes he looked all right. He finished with 3 points, 3 rebounds, and a block. His lone basket actually came from beyond the arc. It was a corner 3 that he drained. It showed off his confidence and his touch. That's really what kind of stood out in terms of what Asa showed in his preseason debut. Newell is likely not part of the main rotation when everyone's healthy, and I think that was made pretty clear here. It's not like that's something we didn't already know, but he's still a very intriguing prospect for the future, and maybe in spot minutes this upcoming season if there are any injuries. That's something you have got to prepare for, especially a team like Atlanta whose front court is Jalen Johnson and Kristaps Porzingis. I mean, come on. Atlanta drafted Newell 23rd overall out of Georgia, where he averaged over 15 points and nearly 7 rebounds per game as a freshman. Just very, very elite numbers as a freshman in college. He's long, he's athletic, and he plays with a ton of energy, good in transition, has a good handle as a big, just a player that really fits into Atlanta's system. Bleacher Report's Zach Buckley described Newell as an NBA-ready finisher with defensive versatility and energy, but he also noted that his opportunity could be limited behind, obviously, Atlanta's very crowded front court of Jalen Johnson and Onyeka Okongwu and Kristaps Porzingis, and even guys like Mo Gay, Zachary Rizashay. But for now, expect him to be a developmental piece. I mean, this isn't a bad thing. He could possibly see some time with the College Park Skyhawks this upcoming season while he adjusts to the NBA game. There's nothing wrong with that whatsoever. The College Park Skyhawks have maybe the best developmental G League program. They have a very proven track record. They've developed guys like Jalen Johnson and V. Krejci, and maybe a guy like Keaton Wallace, who looks like he could probably be a part of Atlanta's main rotation this upcoming season. I trust College Park. If Asa were to get sent down there for a good bit of the season. I wouldn't mind that at all. I think that would be great for his development. Down the line, though, however, I mean, Newell has the skill set to be a major contributor in Atlanta's front court rotation, and that could happen sooner rather than later if he continues to impress in whatever minutes he gets. So overall, there is plenty for Atlanta Hawks fans to be excited about. I'm super excited about what we've got going on. Even though they lost last night, I mean, the offense looks elite. Very, very good. Nickeil Alexander-Walker made an immediate impact. Onyeka Okongwu looked ready for a bigger role. Not that, his role was decreasing, but, I'm excited for his season coming up. And Asa Newell, Atlanta's rookie, showed flashes of potential in the limited minutes he got. The Hawks are back in action Saturday against the Memphis Grizzlies. And, of course, we will be there breaking it all down for you. So that's going to do it for today's episode of Hawks Latest. If you enjoyed today's breakdown, be sure to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss a single update here on the channel. We're going to be pumping out videos every single day, keeping you guys informed on the latest and the greatest regarding the Atlanta Hawks. But let me know down below in the comments. What do you guys think about Atlanta's preseason opener? Just because we lost doesn't mean there aren't some positive takeaways. So let me know what you guys think. Maybe about the 9-man rotation, how Quinn should adjust the minutes between Porzingis and Okongwu. It's all very interesting, so let me know down below. Once again, I'm Zach Langley, aka Langley ATL. Thank you guys for watching, and I will see you guys next time.